Hey guys, this is Nick with the Forever Change podcast. I want to thank you so much for listening to this podcast and let you know one of the ways that you can get involved with what we're doing here behind the scenes at Forever Changed, and that's to let you know about our Patreon. And what we're doing with our Patreon is giving you full access behind the scenes to everything we're doing, from early content all the way to our Zoom Bible studies with our community based all around the world, from Europe to here in the States to even Australia as well. And so one way that you can do that is go over to patreon.com/Nick and Chelsea, sign up for one of our packages and tiers there and get plugged in with our community. I hope that you do it, and I cannot wait to see you there. But from here on out, I hope that you enjoyed this episode.
Welcome into our 100th episode. I cannot believe we are saying that, and we've been anticipating recording this for a while. You wouldn't believe the amount of times we've tried to schedule a podcast. It got canceled, or we got sick, or whatever the case. Maybe this is going to be a really good one, because it's been 100 times of us sitting down and having conversations with other people or with ourselves about just really meaningful things in life, and we're just really grateful to be here.
Do you remember the first episode that we ever did? We weren't even married yet, and it was in my...
We were engaged, right? I think so.
I don't know.
think we were.
I can't remember. Maybe we were. But we were not married yet, nonetheless, which was over 3 years ago. And we were sitting in my apartment in Georgia.
In the closet?
In the closet.
That's funny.
Yep. Because I couldn't get the microphone right. I didn't know. I was trying to speak into it like I'm speaking into this microphone, kind of in the top. But these microphones, you can only speak into like the front. And so I was like,
we didn't know how to work them.
It sounds hollow. I don't know what to do. So we got in the closet, and it didn't help at all. But I was determined, and I thought it was going to help. But that was episode 1, and this is episode 100.
I would say that we've made some moves to
I think
up
we've
the quality.
Maybe made a little bit of progress. So that's encouraging.
Oh my goodness. If you guys have a second, leave us a review down below, maybe sharing your favorite podcast that you can recall, or something that was meaningful from a conversation we had here. Just because we want to reflect and remember some really great times, but also see where we want to head next with this podcast, because the next 100 will hopefully look very different from the first 100. And it's monumental, because I remember the first YouTube video I ever did, and then now there's been hundreds of YouTube videos, and just media creation in general has shifted, changed so much. And so if you guys are intentionally listening to this podcast, it's because you truly really want to, because there's so many different things trying to get your attention nowadays. And we just pray that when you come here and you listen, you leave changed in some way.
We even went through a name change.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, not long ago.
We're started off as Encounter Now, and now we're Forever Changed. And I do love the change.
I do too. Yeah, I think it's very fitting. I think it's fitting to what God has done in our lives and what he's doing in our lives.
Right.
Amidst all of the other parts of our lives that are always changing. We are always changing. And so I think that it's a very fitting title, especially going into this new stretch of episode 100 and beyond. I think that much is going to change. I think we're going to continue to change, as well as our listeners are going to continue changing as well in their season of life.
How many words? How many times can you say that word?
Change.
So in this episode, we had plans to just kind of celebrate, but also go over some stories within our lives, people we've witnessed, and also you guys submitted some stories of miracles that have happened in your life, or somebody you've witnessed. And I don't know about you, but there's something powerful about a miracle story, just hearing how all hope looked like it was gone, and suddenly there was life, or suddenly something took a turn and it was different.
Shift. Yeah.
And I think this world needs a lot more of that. So we wanted to spend some time doing that and just kind of celebrate with you guys wherever you're at. And if you've never personally seen a miracle in your life or somebody around you, we hope that these stories of hope could inspire you to believe in a miracle in your own life if you need one. And
Also look.
look around for them.
Yeah, be aware of what God's doing.
Right. So you want to share in your personal life, because we were talking in the car on the way here, and we were just talking about how there's been some people that we've encountered growing up or in our adult life where we surely thought, the way that they're going with their life, like, they're too far gone. Like, there's no way that they could change their mind about something, that they could shift their beliefs about this particular thing. Just kind of like those people that you think are pretty hard-headed, like they're decided in their ways or in their way of functioning in life. But things shifted. Things changed, and they completely changed. We kind of want to talk about some people we've encountered because they changed us just by being around them. So who was that for you?
Yeah, I think, not a person I was around who changed me, but I think one of my favorite miracle stories, maybe you can relate in your personal life, is the fact that I was once lost and once dead in sin and was literally like brought back to life, like in my spirit in Christ. And I think that's one of the craziest miracles and craziest transformations I've ever seen, because I knew me back then and I know me now, and I know that what has happened as a result of me knowing Jesus has completely changed everything. Like, in the most literal sense, forever changed me. I'll never be the same.
Yeah.
And that's not hypothetical. That is not allegorical. That is not, oh, that's a warm story. Like, no, that's literally, I was one dude and now I'm this dude. And these are two different people in the most literal sense. One of the craziest stories I think I've seen just to date this year, like in this calendar year, was I was preaching at an event in Massachusetts. I won't get into all the nitty-gritties of it, but it was this camp in Massachusetts I was preaching at, and there was this young man who I was told, like, he's probably going to be on his phone. He's probably not going to listen. He's probably not going to care what you say or what you think. And I was preaching. I think I had done one service, and exactly what they said was going to happen is exactly what happened. Kid was on his phone. He wasn't paying attention. He could not care less to be there or who I was or anything I had to say. I would have probably done the same thing at his age. And so I sit down at the lunch table, and I'm talking with him, and we're just chatting it up, and I'm asking about him and what he's interested in his life, and he's talking to me, and we're having a great discussion back and forth. And then we get to that night, and in the service, I'm preaching a message again. I give an invitation. He comes forward, and I went and I found him the next morning. And I said, hey, what shifted for you last night? Like, what changed for you? And he said, I'd never had someone in my life who not only tried to preach at me, but also care about me and also take the time to talk with me. And it really made sense that God loves me and God wants me because of you taking the time to actually care about me. And if you know God and if you know God and you represent God, then I want to be more like that. And so I think, the miracle in that story is not me or anything I did or having a conversation with him, but it was just being obedient to God and listening to what the Lord was saying and going and just having a conversation with this kid. I didn't intend that he was going to give his life to Christ or something like that, but just being obedient to care about people. And I think that salvation for me still is the biggest miracle of all, and it's completely the work of God. It's completely the work of the Holy Spirit. Only Spirit can draw man unto salvation. But I think in that story, man, it just made sense that, like, God can work through anyone. He can do anything through anyone.
Yeah.
assuming that we're obedient. But again, that's not like a high nick up story. That's not anything I did. I just went and talked to the kid. I wouldn't really classify that as a miracle. But through a conversation, God worked it all out for that kid's good and for his own glory. So it was pretty incredible.
That's amazing. And I remember back to high school. Personally, I loved high school. A lot of people didn't, but I just remember having all different sorts of friends, and they all were from different friend groups. And I just remember, the people who really tried hard to make people laugh, and I guess the people who were really, it seemed like they cared a lot about what others thought of them. And I had been there. I've been the one who really thought, like, oh, surely, I should care about what all these people think. Like, it's kind of natural as you're growing up to try to please people. But thank God he's slowly weeded that out of me. But, like, in high school, I remember specifically, like, a group of guys that would try really hard to just make everybody think that they're the greatest of everyone. And there was this one guy, I won't mention his name, but he made me laugh, everybody laugh in every classroom he was ever in. And he also happened to kind of lead the charge in a lot of, I would just say, like, the high school parties that everybody went to, and was just like the life of the party. So in every sense of that aspect, just like lived a life that you probably wouldn't say is like godly, but it looked fun, from the outside. And he was a great friend to have, but also, like, you couldn't really rely on him because, his motivation was fun.
Yeah.
So anyway, senior year comes around and he gets involved in, what is that? Fellowship of Christian Athletes. FCA. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's like athletes who...
It's not even athletes. It's just everybody.
I would go, and I wasn't really even an athlete.
Yeah.
But athletes who are Christians, and we would meet in homes and study the Bible, but also talk about, like, the track meet and, soccer and football. But also, he started showing up because all of his friends were involved in sports. And he got really interested in, like, the way that they lived their life. It was only a few of these guys, obviously not the whole friend group was going to FCA, but a few of them, like, kept encouraging him to come. And he did. And slowly I watched him, like his heart, I watched his heart soften towards, like, the things that God really cares about. And he started, like, truly, genuinely caring for people. And, like, just watching that slowly happen over time was amazing. But then I'll never forget the moment where he decided that he wanted to follow Jesus. And I was like, man, you out of all people, like, you're the life of the party. You're always, like, associated with these groups of people and these things. And he made that decision. I remember him getting, like, baptized, and then watching him, like, lead his friends in, like, the way of life that he was carrying now, following Jesus. And he was just so compassionate and kind towards everyone. And then a few years later, he married one of the sweetest girls that has, like, a disabled sister and has a passion for, like, people with disabilities. And them together, like, watching them together in marriage and caring about the things of Jesus, like, they have made so much change in the community they're in. And so I'm just like, wow. Like, when you look at, like, change upon change, like, a decision that affects future decisions and who you marry and the things you do together, like, it all, like, miracle after miracle, it all, like, compounds on each other. And I just think of, like, the people that we think...
We call those mega miracles.
Mega miracles. Like, the people that we think are, like, too far gone, or surely, like, they wouldn't care about, Jesus or or following him. But like we just never know, as we like intentionally pray for others and like are just a friend to them, like what God can do through
a conversation, an invitation, a video,
and
a
just
podcast,
an invite,
whatever.
like inviting. I mean, he was one that invited people to everything, but when he was invited to something that was like life-changing for him, like everything shifted for him, because it wasn't all surface level anymore.
Data shows that people are 80% more willing to go to a Christian event of some sort, whether it's a church setting, church service, FCA, anything like that, if they are invited by a close and intentional friend in their life. And so if you're only hanging out with church people, stop it. Hang out with other people too.
You could probably say that a little nicer.
I probably could, but I don't want to. But I think that's important, man. Like, get around people who aren't just like you and who don't just think the same way as you. Like, and invite them into your circle. I think
that's the really beautiful thing that I witnessed in high school, is like being friends with all sorts of people, like the musical kids.
Yeah, it's valuable.
The sports people, the like everything.
And you keep a pulse on like what people are actually interested in, like outside of your bubble. You know? I think that's important to know.
Exactly. Just not having friends that are like you in every way and who disagree with you on a lot of things.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just think that story was like incredible, powerful. I think of him a lot as far as like just a pure example of what it means to like see like dramatic change in someone's life.
Yeah, that is a dramatic change. That's a big change.
Yeah. And then your stories that you guys shared with us, we were inspired by them as well. We might not be able to get to all of them, but we figured we'd go back and forth to kind of share some miracle stories, because it's very evident that you guys have quite a lot of them. Do you want to go first? Or?
Sure. Yeah, we got sent quite a few. Okay, so this one is from Bella. And Bella writes this. She said, so my friend and I got into a car and started driving to get ice cream. Sounds like something I would do. She drove, and we were both going into our sophomore year of high school, so we both were fairly new at driving. On our way back, we were at an intersection where we needed to turn left. However, we only had a green light, not a green arrow, so they had to yield into oncoming traffic. My friend didn't gauge the car speeds properly that were going through the intersection, and it happened all in slow motion. We began to turn left. The fast car was approaching on my side of the car, and I remembered yelling, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And then it all stopped. We got hit on my side of the car, and luckily it was still in the front of the car that got hit. My passenger door wasn't hit, but because it hit us perfectly on the front side of the car, we did 360-degree turns on the road and ended up in a ditch. All I remember was smoke filling up the car, my chest being jolted by the impact, and lights everywhere. I remember looking to the left, seeing my friend hysterically crying, and I told her to call 911. She did, but while I was sitting in our busted car, she was weeping over the phone with a 911 dispatcher. I felt immense peace, a supernatural peace. I couldn't comprehend it. I just remember in that moment praying for my friend, praying for the people in the car that hit us, and praying that there were no injuries. I ended up calling my dad, who was a paramedic and a firefighter at the time. I knew he would not freak out because he saves people from car accidents all the time. We ended up with no injuries, just bruised chests from our seatbelts saving us, but our seatbelts weren't the only things that saved us that night. God did. My mom and sister always pray before bed, and they were praying before I got into my accident. My mom felt to pray that if I was in a car accident that night, that I would be safe, which is just crazy. She never, ever prays that, and why would a mom pray like, oh yeah, if my daughter gets into a car accident, I hope that she's safe. People would probably think that would just be insane, but she did it. And I'm so thankful that she listened to the Holy Spirit's pricking on her heart that night. Right after she prayed that prayer, my dad ran upstairs and told her the news that I was in a car accident but was safe. Tears filled her eyes, and she had peace because she knew the Lord was at hand. The Lord protected me on that night. If that car ever so slightly hit the side of my door, I would either be paralyzed or dead. If you look at the picture and see all of the impact on the front of the car, just imagine for a second if it all hit on my side and my door of the car. That would be really painful. I bet. I'm here today because of God saving me. He not only saved me from death physically, but he saved me from death spiritually. I'm a new creation because of the power of the cross. Praise be to Jesus. That is Bella's story.
Thank you for sharing that, Bella. I didn't expect to read such a powerful story when opening our email like that, but I don't know about you guys, but anytime I read like a miracle story with car accidents, I think of other people that I know that have been in car accidents and that
you've been in one.
God has saved them. And that is also something I kind of want to share. I don't know if you guys followed my YouTube channel back whenever this happened, but I was hit by a drunk driver whenever I was 17. It was my first car I had ever bought. It was beautiful. I wish it was still here today. But I was at a red light, the first one at the red light, and the traffic to the left were crossing in front of me, and they were like turning into the same lane that I was coming in, like I would have continued on into. But I looked in my rear view mirror because I had heard like skidding, kind of like really loud skidding, and I saw that this woman was like, I didn't know at the time it was a woman, but she was definitely going like 30-40 miles an hour and was not paying attention to the fact that there was a red light like right in front of her and my car. And she continued and slammed right into the back of my car, and I jolted into the intersection. Luckily, there was no cars crossing on the left. Otherwise, I would have been hit from both sides. But my car was hit directly from behind. So luckily, I was in the front. I was the only one in the car. And all I had was whiplash, but my car was completely totaled. And after investigating with the cops and everything, we found out that she failed the detection test to,
field sobriety test.
Yeah, the drunk driving test. And not only that, she had a child in her car that was 7 years old, and she was drunk driving at noon on a summer day. And I just kept thinking, like, as much as I was hyperventilating and scared, like in that moment at 17 years old, just the protection that I felt from God of just like knowing that, okay, like he not only cares about me, but he is divinely, like, he knows what's going on in this world, and he can protect us. And I'm so glad that that daughter was safe too, like the 7-year-old girl, and the woman also was still okay. But wow, like I bet there's quite a few people even listening probably have stories like that, where they just felt very protected. So yeah, that's a little story I didn't think I was going to share.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful.
No, that's great.
This podcast is in partnership with BetterHelp. Is there something preventing you from achieving your goals or seeing life the way you'd like to? Nick and I have used BetterHelp counseling in our marriage and individually over the years, and we've seen such a tremendous difference in the way we communicate, how we view parenting, and even individually feeling healthier in every area of our life. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You'll be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours, and you can log into your account anytime and send a message to your therapist. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so they can make it easy and free to change therapists if needed. We've actually done this before, and it was so easy to do, and it's more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and financial aid is available. So if you guys want to get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp, you can go to betterhelp.com/Hurst. Again, that's betterhelp.com/HURST. Oh, there's this one I read that was really cool. This is by Rebecca. It has to do with marriage. So she said, ever since I was little, I would always wonder things like, who will I marry? What will he be like? What will he look like? And ever since then, ever since I was little, I would pray that God would show me in a dream my future husband, which is very specific. Every time I prayed that prayer, I had a dream that I was getting married, but I could never see the groom. So God was telling me, don't worry, I have someone for you, but you're not ready to know yet, every single time. Every guy I talked to or dated, I would pray, and God wouldn't reveal my groom to me. I always assumed it was just because it was too early, or whatever the case may be, just making excuses. Well, then I started dating my husband. I prayed the prayer again, and that night I had the same dream, but God revealed him to me, and I knew. We were both 17 when we first started dating, but I had got promise rings for each other at 1 month of dating. Wow, that's crazy. We both got engaged and married at 19. We are now both 21. We both knew after our first date that we'd be married.
Wow.
At 17. That's so early.
Dude, could you imagine if
being 17.
Imagine if we got married at 19.
Like, when we first met.
Yeah. Bruh.
That's crazy.
We'd be a mess. Goodness. We probably wouldn't be a mess, but man, that is kudos to you, because holy moly. Rebecca, you are a saint.
That's a lot of growth to go
That
through
is a
together.
lot of growth. Yeah.
Because even us, you guys know, we felt immense peace about us being together, knew that we would be married as well, like pretty early on, but to know at 17 that's a test of maturity too, to like be trusted with.
Yeah, to be able to handle that.
Yeah.
Is pretty incredible too. I thought it was appropriate to share. So this is from Sarah. This might be our last one.
Okay.
So it says, my husband and I attempted to conceive for 4 years, even told by many doctors that I couldn't. And in those years, we bought baby clothes and stuff for our children in preparation for what God was going to do. We had many people approach us and tell us that he would give us a child. June of 2018, I found out that I was pregnant, but then miscarried days later on my birthday. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
My husband and I started saving for IVF treatment, hoping that it would give us a child. We finally had the money, but we were part of the youth team at church. That comes into play because one night while preparing to go to camp that summer, God told my husband and I both to donate the money that we had raised for IVF to camp instead. I was crushed, but we listened and did it anyway. Every single morning of camp that week, I got Bible verses of the day in my email that had something to do about God healing and doing miracles for those who kept the faith. Doing IVF, I would have found out if I was pregnant or not the last week of October. But that month came, and I was so upset thinking about what I could have done but didn't. The last week of October 27th, 2018, I had a pregnancy test left over. I was upset thinking about what we gave up, but I took it anyway, knowing that it would be negative, but it was positive. I went on to have that baby in July of 2019, a healthy baby boy. Then I went to have his little brother December of 2020, and the same doctor that told me I couldn't get pregnant came into the delivery room while I was having my oldest. I reminded her of what she told me, and she looked at me confused and just said, "Well, I guess I was wrong." My husband just smiled and was like, "No, you guys were right. Medically, I couldn't get pregnant, but medicine did not do this. God did this." That morning, I gave birth to our son. The Bible verse came on my phone that said, "By faith, Sarah herself received the power to conceive, even when she was past the age, since she considered him faithful who had promised. Oh, and my name is Sarah, by the way."
That's so cool.
That is awesome.
Wow.
Wow. The Bible verses coming through on the emails there is really, really powerful. I mean, the reminders there.
And just stories like that, like, I know encourage my heart, even though I've never personally been through something like that. I know countless other people have. I can think of one person that you and I both know. And just like the trusting process whenever you're waiting on something like that is so difficult. But just the probably dependency that they went through on leaning on God through those moments, like, taught them so much. And I'm just encouraged by all these stories, and I'm so glad that these are probably just a slim amount of what God's going to continue to do in the community that is here listening. And I want to continue sharing these stories because they're so good.
Too. Yeah, and I think it was just appropriate today to talk about some of the things that God has done in your life and my life and in the lives of those of you listening and those of you who are part of this family. And man, I just believe in the future that greater things are ahead, that more is still to come.
Yeah.
That God is still forever changing us, and He's still forever changing people all around the world, and that we get to be a part of His story is truly humbling and really, really remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is probably, like I mentioned earlier, that is probably one of the greatest miracles that I've seen. It's just that God chooses to use broken people to accomplish a supernatural mission by His power and by His help and by His grace, really. That is just the craziest thing.
Truly.
You know, that is just the craziest thing. And so just grateful we get to be a part of it.
Yeah. We know today's episode was a little bit shorter, but next week it's going to be good. It's going to be specific on finances and what we've learned in our 20s and
also a lot of dumb things that we've done.
The mistakes we learned or we went through. Yeah. So hopefully you can resonate and appreciate the direction as we all are just trying to get a grasp on that one topic. But
But thank you so much for listening. Thank you for 100 episodes. We truly would not be here without you. And we just pray that in the future you'll continue to be a part of the family that is being built here in the community that's being built here. We really do believe that the best is still yet to come. And so can't wait for episode 101 and more into the future. So I hope you come and hang out with us next week. But until then, we will see you soon.
See you guys.